Serve up your soup in a homemade bread bowl and it might result in the best meal you've ever made from scratch. Lori Vaughn is joining me, sharing her recipe for delicious bakery-style bread bowls. It's great to have you in our kitchen. And I was just telling you in the commercial break, we have a tradition in our family. We do bread bowls on Halloween. Or if I see them on a restaurant menu or a bakery menu, I will always...
Feels special.
Yes, it feels elevated. Always order and bring home, but we can do this at home?
Yeah, so easy to make at home, way cheaper and way tastier.
Okay, teach us your ways, Lori.
Okay, so it's really easy. You're just making a lean dough, and by lean, I just mean water, some yeast, oil, a little bit of honey, salt.
Honey?
Just a little bit. You can also sub for sugar, but just a teeny bit. There's only a tablespoon.
Okay.
It just kind of helps activate the yeast too. My favorite kind of yeast to use is SAF instant yeast. You can use any kind of active dry yeast as well. If you use active dry yeast, you just need to let it sit and activate for 8 minutes. But if you use an instant yeast, you can just mix it all together. I literally just threw all the ingredients in the bowl, dumped, turned it on.
Good to go.
So here it is kind of all prepped. I wanted to show you this last step because it's my favorite part in showing a tip for dough. And this tip will apply for almost any dough that you make.
Okay.
So it's about knowing when to stop adding flour. The biggest culprit is that we always add too much flour.
As little as I've made bread in my life, I do know that to be a trap for a lot of people.
Yes, it gets so tough and dense, and you just feel like, oh, why did I go through all this effort and time, and this is not good.
To ruin it at the finish line.
It's really, exactly, at the finish line is where it counts here. So it's super easy. Literally, again, I just have dumped it in, mixed it together.
For how long?
Well, so it will need for 8 minutes, but before that step, as I in this last step, I'm adding in the last bit of flour. And how you know when you're done adding flour by how the dough feels. Okay. A lot of times on dough recipes, you'll see like, oh, 5 to 6 cups of flour, and you're like, okay, what does that mean, right?
That's a big range.
This is what it means. So what you want your dough to feel like, I get my fingers dusted with a little bit of flour, and I just touch the dough. And it should feel, let's get out a little clump here. It should feel soft, and see how it's almost tacky-like? It's not wet, it's not tough and dense, it's just tacky.
A little bit of stick is
There is some stick, exactly. So when it's a little bit sticky, mostly tacky, that's when you're done. And you do have a range. I could probably add a little bit more if needed, and I wouldn't go overboard. So it's nice to know that there is a little bit of range, but that's when you want to stop. And then when you stop, you'll need it for about 8 minutes. And you can also do it by hand. If you don't have a fancy mixer, totally fine. You can just roll it with your hands for about 10 minutes and it's good to go. Okay. And then after you do that, you'll let it rise. And about 30 to 60 minutes later, it should double in size.
This is where I get quiet and reverent. Bread making intimidates me. It totally does. I'm just sitting here listening to everything you say.
It's so easy. No. So you let it rise. Look how beautiful you have. So those air pockets.
Pretty.
Now we'll form them into the rolls. So I'll do a little bit of flour.
Who inspired you to master bread the way that you have?
My mom. My mom has always been so good with bread. And I had a little home bakery growing up when I was in high school. It was a great way to earn money. And I've just loved the science behind it ever since.
I love that you love it. I love that you're teaching women how to master it as well.
Yes. Okay, so with this recipe, you can do 2 approaches. It will either make 2 loaves of French bread.
Okay.
Or it will make 6
bread bowls.
6 bread bowls. Can you hand me that white bench scraper?
Oh, you bet. Sorry. I was trying to be a good sous chef and clear your space.
Good. So what I do if I'm doing 6 bread bowls, I just cut it in half.
Okay.
And then I'll do 3 from there, if that makes sense. I kind of go into a log and then do 3. And you could use a scale if you want to be like super precise, but I just kind of use my hands and think about.
We're easy around here.
Yeah. So get your hands floured a little bit. And then you'll kind of tuck in the centers to kind of create a seam, pull all those seams in.
I've been looking around like, what is she using to make those perfect round bowls?
Your hands.
Just your hands?
Your hands.
Okay.
Okay, no special
I thought there was
tricks.
a tool or a gadget or a cup hiding somewhere. Okay.
Okay, so you're just pulling in the seams so you get that nice soft top. That way the top's not all wrinkly. It's that nice soft top.
It's smooth and shiny.
So now that you have that round ball, you want to create a little bit of tension in the dough. That's what's going to help keep its shape. So I kind of do this little pulling action. Use the countertop. The countertop is your friend to kind of pull. If you feel it sliding, you've used too much flour.
Okay.
And then I just kind of, it'll do a little roll. That's how it's round. You just use our hands, right?
Okay.
So then when you've made 6 of them, you can just prop them on a pan.
Okay.
I just line mine with parchment paper. And you'll let it rise.
Itty bitty, but just
no,
enough.
It will, it expands. So you let it rise just for about 30 minutes, and it will only increase about 50%. You don't need it to totally double, and it will expand in the oven as well.
Okay.
And then after it's risen, you'll brush an egg wash on it. And the egg wash is what gives it that gorgeous bakery style shine. It's the egg wash.
It almost looks, and I mean this is a compliment, it almost looks like faux food when you walk up, because it's so pretty. It's so perfectly round, the color is gorgeous.
It came from Megan's Play Kitchen.
I mean, you just never know. You never know these days.
So you just brush with an egg. An egg wash is just egg mixed with a tablespoon of water, whisked together, super easy.
You're funny. Okay.
And then you just pop it in the oven.
Okay.
Okay, bake it for about 25 to 30 minutes.
Yes,
and then you have your bread bowl here.
Show us. This looks amazing, but I know you, so I know it tastes amazing too.
It's so soft. So you have that chewy exterior, but that super tender, soft interior.
The bread bowl becomes part of the meal.
Yes.
The bowl
Who
itself.
doesn't want to eat their bowl?
Yeah.
And then super easy to cut into. You just want to make sure, obviously, you don't dive all the way into the bottom to cut out the bottom of your bowl.
Yep, save the floor.
But as long, you can go pretty all the way in. And the crust is pretty sturdy that I'm never too worried about it. You just cut a round out.
Nice job, Lori. Oh.
Pull this guy out. And then you can use a spoon to kind of get out some more of the bread or tuck it in.
Because they're good dippables.
Oh, absolutely.
That fresh
take
homemade
this,
bread.
dip it in the soup.
Okay.
And then take your favorite kind of soup.
And at this point, we don't care if it's Campbell's because you've made homemade bread bowls. Just kidding.
Can I tell you, this is Campbell's. But it's so good. It's actually my son's favorite. And it's, you know what? It's an easy way to elevate your meal.
No, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Your bread bowls, they're so super easy to make in advance.
Yeah.
You can, first of all, you can prep the dough overnight and keep it in the fridge, or you can freeze them. So if you can double, triple the batch, keep them in your freezer, and then when you're ready for that Campbell's quick to go dinner, your husband's gonna be like, oh my gosh, wow, I got this fancy meal.
You're like, just whipped it out of the freezer.
Put a little Parmesan cheese, a little basil, and it just looks
it's a
bakery style.
Elevated meal you can feel good about, first of all, making and serving, but eating as well. Thank you so much. Where can we get more bread advice and other recipes from you?
Yes, so my recipes on lowskitchenco.com. I also give a ton of tips on Instagram, Lowe's Kitchen Co.
Lowe's Kitchen Co. you should be following. If you aren't, give her a click. We'll connect you from our website for an easy connection point. Thank you so much. Homemade bread bowls. I'm here for it.